Thank you very much indeed. I am delighted to be here, and I wish the UPR every success in its historic mission to make France a free and independent country again. You will find it can be a lonely road, but I promise you, you will be joined by millions, and the destination is certain, an independent France that will save Europe. And I'm delighted to speak at this rally for another reason, because it shows that the brave decision of 17.4 million Britons, the highest vote ever, to vote for independence in 2016 was not an isolated eccentricity. It is instead part of a Europe-wide movement to re-establish democracy and self-government. And this is a noble aim because Europe, our continent, in all its glory, its history, its vitality, its creativity, and its diversity, with all of that, it was also the political laboratory that first forged the concept of the self-governing, independent, sovereign nation-state. In short, democracy. And that democracy is therefore an indispensable part of the nation-state. You cannot have democracy without the independent, self-governing nation-state. And France must be that again. And the achievement of Europe was that this idea spread throughout the world. It is the foundation of the Charter of the United Nations. It has been adopted all over the world. But extraordinarily, in Europe, we've gone in the opposite direction. We've given up the independent, self-governing nation-state, and instead we have dismantled it. And this has been tried in the past, as you know, in European history. There have been attempts in the past to submerge the nation-state in a single political entity for the whole continent. It has never worked. It has never worked. It has always been dismantled. But the European Union is trying to do it again, not by violence, not by force, but by bureaucracy, by rules, by regulations, by transferring the lawmaking powers from the people to the center. And that hollows out the democracy of the nation-state. And as I say, it's happening nowhere else in the world. After 60 years of the European Union, there is not a single group of other countries that has adopted this model. It has failed. There are trade pacts, there are free trade areas, there are defense organizations, there are many treaties, there are cooperations between nation-states, but no other group of countries in the world has followed the European Union and adopted a single currency, a Supreme Court, a single defense policy, and a lawmaking body for an entire continent. It has been tried nowhere else, and it has failed in Europe. And of course, that has created the crisis that led to our referendum result 3 years ago. Because the lack of democracy does not harm the official class. They will always be on top. It damages the people, the ordinary people. Because people People need a sense of belonging, identity, security, and that is provided by the nation state. And if you take that away, they feel alienated, powerless, a feeling that nothing belongs anywhere. And with the speed of technical change in the world, of globalization, people feel profoundly unhappy and alienated once this power is taken away from them. And then, of course, we get lied to by politicians. And I can say this because I used to be one myself. Every political party at every election here, they always promise to control immigration. How can you control immigration when it is part of the ideology of the European Union that you have freedom of movement? I mean, there are over 500 million people who can come here completely freely and get everything they want without anyone controlling them at all. So people are lying to the electors when they say they can control immigration, and people saw through this. And that was another reason why people voted overwhelmingly, by the biggest vote in history, to leave the European Union. Now, of course, faced with this problem, the European Union says it wants to go for reform. They're listening, they say. Do not believe a word of it. And I know, because I tried to reform the European Union. I was Minister for Europe in a Conservative government for 2 years. So I know the official mind. They are not interested in reform. And I was also a member I have to admit, of the Convention on the Future of Europe. Do you remember that? Chaired by Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, ex-president of France. The convention, yes. The convention was told to reform Europe, to reactivate the democratic spirit. Its mandate was to make Europe less bureaucratic. It was told even to return some powers to member states. And I sat on that body as a representative of the House of Commons for 2.5 years. My friends, it did not reform Europe. Instead, they wrote a constitution for Europe with more powers at the center. And what happened? There was a referendum in France. There was a referendum in Holland on the Constitution, and both countries said no. Yes. But what happened? The entire substance of the Constitution and the text was incorporated in the Treaty of Lisbon. They ignored the referendum results. They always do. The European Union is not undemocratic, it's anti-democratic. So the only solution is not reform, it's to leave the European Union. Yeah. Quite right. So my considered verdict on the European Union, having been a minister, going over there every week, having been a member of the convention for 2.5 years, my considered view is that the European Union is remote, inefficient, old-fashioned, wasteful, self-interested, and anti-democratic. But They will never relinquish power. They will never reform. That is why they want to frustrate the will of the British people and the British electorate. But they will not succeed. We are not leaving today, but I promise you, we will leave. Yes, we will. And we will leave, and you will leave. Yeah. Because yes, you will. And the reason is this, and this is my final remark. There is another Europe waiting to be born, waiting to be discovered or rediscovered. An older Europe, a democratic Europe, a Europe of freely associating, democratic, self-governing nation-states, cooperating together, trading together, doing things together, but not being governed together. So I say, vive la France, vive l'Union, vive the Union, vive the Union Populaire République. Good luck.